starting to come together here. Let's talk about the mix design that we're going to use for this. The world of concrete mix design is very deep. This mix is going to be 2 parts sand, 1 part cement. The type of cement that I'm using in this case is white Portland cement. If you don't have white, you can just use gray. Totally the same thing except for the color. The reason why I'm using white, 1, I have some bags open and I got to use it up. But 2, I'm going to be adding some color to this surface layer here, and a white cement based product is going to color much more dramatically when I add a pigment to it versus a gray based cement. And I was reading one of these pigment products, and it says on it to expect to use 10 times less coloring agent to achieve the same color when using a white based cement versus a gray one. So that's why I'm using white. I think it should give us some interesting color here. White Portland cement, 1 part. 2 parts sand, sharp sand, sterilized, free of impurities like twigs and things like this, bottle caps and whatnot. Don't use tumbled sand like play sand because it's had all of the sharp edges rounded off. We want the sharp, jagged, irregular shape. It helps to make the mix strong. You also want it to be fairly fine, not too fine, but not too coarse for sure, because then you would lose your ability to get some of the finer detail that we want to get with this. So 2 parts sand to our 1 part cement. We're also going to add a liquid acrylic product. This is liquid acrylic or latex. We're going to replace 10% of the water, approximately, with this liquid latex product. It's going to change a little bit about the finished product. It's going to make the concrete a little stronger. It's going to make it a little more resistant to water permeation, which is important for longevity of concrete. And in total, I think what we're going to have here is something that's really strong, probably overbuilt. I'm overbuilding this thing a little, but that's okay. We'll overbuild this one. 2 parts sand, 1 part cement, 10% acrylic. I think that's all we need to do for the mix. I'm going to be using some slurry. I'm making some slurry products here. These are going to be something that I paste in with a paintbrush here directly before I apply this mix on top. So the reason why I'm going to do that, I want a high concentration of cement for this slurry because the cement will enable me to get a very high level surface detail, and I want this to be a very smooth table, and I don't want it to be full of pockmarks and holes, and I'm going to achieve that by applying this slurry before I put my strength mix on top, and then we do our consolidation and vibration and whatnot. But this is also going to enable me to do some coloration. So one of these 2 is going to get some of this charcoal liquid iron oxide based coloration or pigment, and I'm going to just do kind of like, I don't know, a tiger stripe striation, just a little bit random, and it should give us something pretty interesting with the finished result. So that's what we've got going on here. Leave that up there. Need to make a big bucket of mud right now. Let's talk about this form. I used a little bit of cornstarch just to help set up that silicone because I wanted to hurry up and get going here. I didn't have 24 hours to let it cure. So I threw a little cornstarch on there. That's what you see in terms of white powder residue. I then took a rag, wiped it out. In fact, one more pass won't hurt. Really want to go out of your way to remove anything in here that's going to make the surface not as good as it could be. Even so much as a bold fingerprint or an errant eyelash is going to be not a huge problem, but a detraction in the finish of the surface. And we really want it to be as good as possible here. We're going well out of our way to make it as good as possible. I think it's going to be really good. So at this point, I could probably pour it. Probably going to be okay. But I'm going to take one more step here. Because I can. And because you probably should too. I'm going to apply a release agent to this. The concrete is not going to stick to this. But that being said, I'm going to apply a release agent anyway because it's going to stick even less. And it's going to enable the surface to separate cleaner, and it's going to have less chance of leaving some cement component here stuck to the form and not on the surface of the tabletop, which is what we're going for. So I would definitely wear a mask for this. I'm just going to take a deep breath, spray this, and then I'm going to vacate the area because I'm going to go mix up that mud that we already talked about. I'm short on battery life today, so I'm just going to turn it off. You don't need to see me mix it. We talked about it. If you want to see me mixing concrete, oh boy, you are on the right YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and go ahead and click around some videos. You're going to see me mixing all kinds of concrete, but not today. Big breath, spray this. Oh, hey there. Didn't see you. Just kidding. So, we're ready to go here. I've got a bucket of mud mixed up. I don't think it's going to be enough for the whole thing, but the bucket only holds so much. I'm not going to make another one. We'll see how far it goes, but I think a lot of it's going to get used up right here, right now. Since I've got it mixed up, I got to move quick, so let's just go ahead and move on to the slurry. Slurries. Slurry? I don't know. This is just Portland cement, white Portland cement, a little bit of sand, because I need some strength in this. I don't want it to be weak, because it is going to be the surface of a table after all. The consistency that we're going for is something like cake batter. Slightly warm butter. As per normal, I usually undershoot and then way overshoot the amount of water. To this one, we will add just a very small amount. We don't need much because this is designed to, go into like large bags of concrete. We're doing a tiny little bit here. Oh boy, we've achieved gray concrete with our white cement and charcoal coloring. Let's go just a little darker than what normal concrete would be anyway. What's that? Even more? Well, it's already quite a bit, and probably more than the manufacturer recommends, but we do just a little more. Since we want this to look cool, right? Obviously, so no choice, we have to. Stuff is like squid ink, trying to not get it around. It's not quite ready. Gonna spin it up a little more, but that's what we're dealing with. It's pretty dark. I don't know how it looks to you, but it's definitely a lot darker than what regular concrete would be. And certainly a lot lighter than this here. It's like white but because of the brown sand, you can see it's like an off-white, creamy colors. Nice, I like it. The mix that we ended up with, as you can see, is kind of like a taupe tan color. So we're gonna have kind of like 3 colors going on, which I think is cool. So take our slurry mixture here. One last chance to pull all of the little schmutz out. Okay, there we go. It's me. Not too thick with this stuff. You'll see. I think it looks pretty good. At this point now, we have to work it all in. We can't leave it thick like this. This is just a slurry. It's not really strong. We only want a skin coat here because it's going to allow us to get a lot of fine detail. Okay, so let's just go ahead and paste it in, and then let's get our mix on top of that. Very important. Don't let that dry before you get the rest of the mix in here. So let's get going. Gotta move quickly here. So I'm going to vibrate this to help consolidate, help to remove a lot of the air bubbles out of it, hopefully give us a higher quality detailed finish on the surface. We're not going for perfect at this stage because we're going to be applying a lot more stuff. It's going to be falling. We're going to have to redo this, but I wanted to consolidate that surface. That needed to happen now. So a couple of things here. One, I want to take out some of this mud because I want to make sure that the steel gets fully encapsulated. That's the terminology for the steel needs concrete on both sides of it in order to do its thing within the mix. I could probably just press it right in there. But I'm going to take this approach instead. Got some longer nails to help. I really wanted those to be pulled in tight there. Those ones look pretty good. So I could use one. Okay, I don't want this to get away from me, so I better start throwing some mud on here. I changed my mind, and it's important. Stay with me here. I pressed that in. Look at absolutely nothing for encapsulation. That would have been a real problem. So we're going to solve this by manually helping that encapsulation before I set it in there this time. Yeah, that's going to be a lot stronger. Way better. Let's get it back in the mud. Little wiggle really helps to seat that in there. I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to have enough mud to finish this, and I kind of hate to get it started and then have to take off and go make some more. But I think I'm just going to have to go for it here and just kind of deal with the challenge that when I go to finish it in terms of texture and finishing, I'm going to have some mud that's a little older setting up already, which this stuff is definitely starting to do. And then I'll have some new stuff. Just going to have to roll with it, so it is what it is. Let's get started. Okay, out of mud. The battery made it, but not for long. So I'm going to put it on charge quickly wise up some more mud and bring you right back. Okay, we're back. Process is I'm going to put the rest of the mud up, and then I'm just going to keep doing passes, getting smoother and smoother and smoother every time. Not going for perfect, going for kind of pretty good. Once I've got it kind of pretty good, I'm going to take a rubber texture skin like so, and I'm going to imprint rock texture all over it. Then once I'm done all that, I'll clean up the top edge here, and that's going to be the whole thing. I hope I'll have you for all of it, but let's get going. Probably almost out of battery, but still, we're going to keep going here. I'm going to switch to a point trowel now, just do a couple more passes, try to smooth it out a little bit more so that I can get it to a pretty smooth point, and then I can do my texture imprinting. So we're going to use the point trowel, gets into the nooks and crannies better, and maybe 1 or 2 passes here should do the trick. This is a liquid release agent, and I'm going to use that to make sure that the texture skin doesn't stick as I imprint a texture. If you don't have one, which you probably don't, you can buy a sea sponge from the local hardware store. Take this sea sponge and use it to imprint texture. It's not as good as the urethane texture mat, but with a little bit of skill, you can do some good work with it. I've got to move here. I don't have time to show you because this stuff is setting up. Just looking to add just a little texture here. Nothing too crazy. That's not too bad there. Gonna touch up some more for sure, but let's deal with this. We gotta flatten this out here. Now I know there's no point in checking that I know my bench is out here, so I have to account for that, but it's already looking pretty good so far. This is a sponge float. It will work great to help marry this all out. I screed it, get it mostly flat, hit it with a damp sponge float, small circular pattern. Okay, we're getting near the end here, and I'm going to want to stop rotating it. Let's just go ahead and screed some of this here. I'm just going to do a sponge float finish on it. Nice and easy. Again, it's the underside of the table. Not too worried about it. Alright. I think that's it. It's not perfect. It's close to what I was thinking. Structurally speaking, I think I nailed it. I think it's very strong. We'll just have to give it a day or two to cure, pull it from the mold, and see what we're dealing with. I mean, it's a long way to go yet. We still have to scrape, sand it, paint it, and seal it, but all of that is going to make it look more and more realistic as far as like a natural stone look goes. And yeah, I definitely can't wait to see what the tabletop looks like. I'll see you back soon.